Elden Ring Nightreign DLC has just been confirmed. If you've been enjoying Elden Ring Nightreign so far, have been having a whack at the new Everdark Sovereigns, or whether you just started, the deal with how the game is being handled is pretty simple. There are a grand total of 8 bosses that can be made in Everdark Sovereigns, and we have just hit 3 in the Sentient Past. This is a great way of keeping the game's lifespan alive and providing new challenge to the players so that you don't stop playing. However, eventually we're going to run out of bosses. So from there, where does it go? Well, we're probably going to have a pretty big DLC for Elden Ring Nightreign, and as it has already been confirmed, here is what we know. But before I get into it, if you want to keep up with all things Elden Ring Nightreign, go ahead and press the subscribe button for me right now. Let's start with what we know, which is admittedly not a lot. But what we know is that there is going to be DLC. If you bought a non-standard copy of the game, you would know that there is going to be a DLC as is included in the descriptors, and I feel like they would have changed it if they weren't confident in that date by now. I'm going to answer to the best of my ability when and what we may be getting. The director touched on it a little. You can see here he says, for future content we have already announced DLC, which we are currently underway on developing. The content for that will be focused on mainly new playable characters and new boss encounters. So please look forward to that. And then of course beyond that, we can't say definitely right now, but we will be continuing to support the game with patches and updates, which is good news, according to what we see from the player data and player tendencies. So sticking tight to the game and watching for balance changes that need to be made, and generally supporting the game as we've done with our previous titles. So if you remember Elden Ring, there was always big things like new patch, new balance, and everyone made a big thing out of it. So hopefully we get some stuff like that. DLC from games released has said specifically Q4 2025. If you don't know what that means, if you go by the Japanese fiscal year here, it means that between January and March of 2026, like the end of the school year. But it probably means that the holiday season before the end of this year, to be honest, if it's saying 2025. Because if you look at the timelines for when we'll be out of Everdark Sovereign fights, that's about the start of August, which makes it a good time to give some news on maybe some DLC. And considering the fact that Duskblood needs its own time to mark itself in 2026, I assume that the DLC will be in 2025. Perhaps before December. If you look at the big confirmed topics, I bet what everyone's excited about is namely the new Nightfarers and new Nightlords. As far as the two goes, the easiest one to speculate on is obviously going to be the new Nightfarers. I say obviously because we don't really have some roles that need to be filled in a multiplayer game. We don't really have a healer type character. The Revenant scales with Faith, and the Revenant has an ult that can be used to heal, but to be perfectly honest, the Revenant is not really supported for a healer exclusive playstyle. And really none of the characters are. You got Bird Boy who acts as a tank, but you don't really got a specific designated healer. So a designated healer character is probably something we'll be getting, considering the fact that we probably almost undoubtedly will be getting Shadow of the Erdtree content from Elden Ring in Nightreign. We could have some Nightfarers like that. So maybe the martial arts weapon classes might be on the table for their own Nightfarer. I think that would be really cool. Or what is in all probability one of the more likely ones is a perfumer starting class. If you've played the Convergence mod, you know that. That's something that people have modded into Elden Ring. So if we can get it in the Elden Ring Nightreign DLC, that would be really dope in my opinion. Moving on to the new Nightlords, I think out of the new Nightlords, there's not a lot you can speculate. There isn't really a lot missing from the original Nightlords, but they all kind of go off of debuffs or effects, right? They all need to have some sort of weakness. So if we're betting on stuff here, what do we not have? Well, we do not have a Death Blight effect boss. We don't really have a boss that inflicts poison. Adele is weak to poison. And Soulstar gets access to poison if he absorbs Adele's skybox. We don't have a designated poison Nightlord. So I think in all probability we'll see a Nightlord maybe that uses some sort of poison or even Scarlet Rot type thing. or Destined Death. One of those 3 debuffs for sure. I can almost like, I'd put money on it. So absolutely, as far as new Night Lords go, debuffs like that, definitely something we can expect. In terms of archetypes of like, I guess the mold, is we don't really have any Night Lords that like would not work if you put them in Elden Ring. They are all kind of Elden Ring bosses put in this kind of crackhead speed movement simulator that is Nightreign. So if we wanted to get something that's like really, like I liked Everdark Sovereign Adele, where you could jump with the character through like the Spirit Spring into the tornado. I mean, in Elden Ring, you could have done that with maybe Torrent, but it was still cool to have a thing that was like a Nightreign thing involved in a boss fight, and I would love to see more of that. Some stuff that makes use of more like, I don't know, maybe climbing on like some sort of golem would be really cool. So that's probably something that I would think. We don't really have a spellcaster, or if they really wanted to go down on the path of like effects, we don't have a Destined Death boss either. So like a Destined Death Malekith type fight would be really cool. So that would be fun, because I know a lot of people really like Malekith from Elden Ring, so that would be dope. As far as like confirmed Shadow of the Erdtree content goes, we do have like Golden Hippo, obviously, who's made an appearance for some reason. But outside of that, we don't really have the weapons, so we're likely going to get some more stuff from Shadow of the Erdtree. So people who liked using certain weapons from Shadow of the Erdtree, new weapon classes, those are probably going to be re-entering in Elden Ring Nightreign's DLC. In terms of bosses and whatnot, what are we going to be getting? To be honest, I would really like to see some more of like different day 2 boss variations. I'll get touched on more in the next topic, more what I would like to see from the DLC, but specifically on the topic of Shadow of the Erdtree stuff, like obviously there's the Perfumer starting class that would be cool to see that can use the new weapon abilities. In terms of like enemies, we might see like the Lightning Knights, like the Death Knights would be really cool to have as bosses. Might give Bellbearing Hunter a run for his money, but I highly doubt it, to be perfectly honest. That thing is like a whole other issue. But yeah, there's a lot of really good contenders from Shadow of the Erdtree. If you can do Remembrance bosses, they might stray away from it. But because I know we have Morgott and like Nameless King, right? But if we could get like maybe Scadutree Avatar, would work really well, honestly, in my opinion, in a multiplayer setting. And so having Scadutree Avatar, as like, even like for lore reasons, I don't really care what you do to make it work, but Scadutree Avatar would be really cool to have as a day 2 boss. Other options that I put up there are Commander Gaius. No, I'm just kidding. Hell to the no on that. I would be so happy never to see him again, but Romina would be cool. Maybe not so much Mesmer, but Romina would be a really cool fight to have as a multiplayer one. Not that I don't think Mesmer wouldn't work, because I think a lot of his fight is the theatrics of it all. So I think that like trying to put a boss that's a lot of personality in is like not super like advised. So yeah, for Shadow of the Erdtree content, that's what probably we can expect to see. New weapon classes, new Nightfarers inspired off Shadow of the Erdtree content, as well as probably some new day 2, day 1 bosses maybe. As far as like what I want to see is for sure like new shifting earths. There's a top right like that hasn't ever been used for a shifting earth. If like there's this image, I'll have to find it, of like all the shifting earths overlapping, and I think that's really cool. Maybe like a big crazy one where you could have all the shifting earths active that could just happen randomly. That would be insane. The people with the Everjail relics would like cry, but other than that, like I think that would be really awesome. We're adding a new shifting earth. For what a new shifting earth could be, again, it's just really just speculation, but to be honest, like there's no way that we don't get a new shifting earth. It's not confirmed, but the fact that that's a huge part of Nightreign and that the DLC is coming out, there's no way we don't get one. So I'm curious what you guys think in the comments about what we're going to get shifting earth wise, so feel free to put that down there. But honestly, I don't know. What do you guys think? Maybe a sleep one, but I don't know how people will be happy about that. Maybe like a Saint Trina themes thing. As far as new bosses, honestly, I am really pro reused content as far as Dark Souls bosses. There are so many Dark Souls bosses that could be in Elden Ring Nightreign that just aren't, and we just have these crap Elden Ring ones. Not that I don't love Elden Ring, I have 700 hours in Elden Ring, but for God's sakes, the Bell-Bearing Hunter and Draconic Tree Sentinel was not needed. Like, I like the Bell-Bearing Hunter in Elden Ring, but in Nightreign, like, jeez, it's like gives me a freaking heart attack when I see that guy. So I'm passing on him, but there's just so many, like, I think that my favorite fights, because I recently got into Dark Souls 3. I didn't finish it. I didn't finish Dark Souls 1. I didn't finish Dark Souls 2. But I'm pretty invested in the whole series, and I want to get around to them, and I know the bosses in them. I want to play them anyways, obviously. But there's some really good contenders that could absolutely kill it in Nightreign. Like, we already had that spider boss. We already have the smelter demon. And those are honestly the funner day 1 and day 2 fights over like this other nonsense like Tibia Mariner. Like everything is better than that, right? I don't want to fight Death Rightbird or anything. So like more reused stuff. Who specifically? Smo and Ornstein would be dope. I mean, like, in my opinion, they're just the better Godskin duo fight. They were the first, I mean, maybe there weren't, but like that is a dope fight. That would be really cool to see. The phase transition might hurt a few people, but that could totally be done considering how you see how Nameless King does it. There's a lot of fights from Dark Souls. Like, they already have Dancer. Dancer's awesome. You could do Vort. You could get that. I just kind of want the song, but yeah, Vort would be a really cool fight. Like, I don't want to disrespect Dark Souls 2. I don't know a ton about Dark Souls 2. But, I mean, there's that guy who's basically a Nightfarers. I'll put up the clip now. But he drops in on a bird. I could do a short on that. Like, absolutely, there's some fights that are 100% should be in Nightreign from other Dark Souls games. Oh, Midir. Midir would be awesome. I would take Midir over, like, Bale or Placidusax, to be perfectly honest, as a playable fight. Not that I don't love those fights, but I would love some more Dark Souls content. Because I think it also helps sell Dark Souls, right? Because, like, for me, the first time I fought Nameless King was in Nightreign. Obviously, he's probably harder in Dark Souls 3, but, like, it was a really cool fight, and it really makes me want to go back and play Dark Souls 3. So I would really like to see some more Dark Souls fights inside of Nightreign. My number one pick, probably Ornstein and Smo. That would be the one that I want to see. But I think that covers everything. Thanks for checking out the video. Again, if you enjoyed this type of content, feel free to leave a like. If you enjoyed it so much and you're a returning viewer, sorry, I would really appreciate if you subscribed and helped me get monetized, hopefully, at some point this summer, because I'm really doing my best here. And if you have any questions, or if you want to let me know what you think the next Shifting Earth event might be in the DLC, or what new Nightfarers you'd want to see, please let me know in the comments, because for me, like, I need the martial arts class, to be honest, the starting class. So I'm curious what you guys are excited for. I think that's it for this video. Thanks for checking in. Toodles.